On November 10th, 2017, I was in a car accident. I was hit by a distracted speeding driver who failed to yield the right of way at the intersection. Had me or my passengers not been buckled in that day, we would have been among the 37,000 people killed in 2017 alone. According to a study by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, of these 37,000 people, 47% were not wearing their seatbelts. To understand these unnecessary deaths, we must first address the common excuses for not buckling up, in addition to the purpose of seatbelts and their uses, and finally, the risks being taken by not buckling up. Can you think of an excuse for not buckling up? 5 common excuses I've heard from my peers over the years are that they are in and out of the car all the time, and that it is a hassle to always be buckling up and unbuckling every time you get in and out of the car, that they are traveling short distances, and that perhaps like from school to the grocery store or to home, just like a 2-minute drive, and it's just kind of pointless to buckle up for that short distance. It might be just a couple minutes. They are not traveling very fast at all. In town, you're often driving a lot less than 25 miles an hour, a lot of starting and stopping, and that you're pretty safe doing that. They're afraid of being stuck in the car, like their seatbelt won't unbuckle if they're in an accident, and they won't be able to get out of the car in time to be safe. And that oftentimes I've heard them say that they know somebody who died in a car accident because they were wearing a seatbelt, and if they hadn't, they would have survived that. In addition, U.S. Legal has compiled 5 more excuses that people say across the country. Business people often say that they are running behind schedule and they do not have enough time to buckle up when they get in the car. They just need to go, go, go. And that oftentimes when there's light traffic, like in Minnesota, sometimes there's heavy traffic, light traffic, you can get into the light traffic and you feel pretty safe. You probably won't get hit by a car, but now you're going in like head-to-head traffic, the chance of getting hit by someone is a lot higher. So they feel safe and they don't think they have to have a seatbelt on, but the risk is still there. Oftentimes business professionals do not want to wrinkle up their clothes because it doesn't look professional, and seatbelts can cause wrinkles in suits. And today with the advances in airbags, people feel that airbags are so good that you do not need to wear a seatbelt. And finally, comfort is king. In America, comfort is king. Many people believe that seatbelts are uncomfortable. They cut into your neck, or they just the loss of movement in the car, and it makes it uncomfortable for them. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration recommends seatbelts regardless of age or health condition, and further states that seatbelts have been designed to keep occupants in the vehicle in the event of a collision or rollover. As Sir Isaac Newton's first law of motion states, an object in motion will remain in motion unless an outside force is acted upon. This means that if you're traveling down the street at X miles an hour in a car, and you suddenly have to make a stop or change directions, and you're not buckled in, you will continue moving forward at X miles an hour in the same direction you were initially traveling, even though the car is moving in a different direction or is stopped. So you could potentially hit something else in the car or be ejected. This is where seatbelts come into play. They can keep you harnessed into the car, and you will not hit anything else in the car or be ejected. If worn properly, seatbelt across the hips at the belt line, not on the stomach or lower or loose, and then the belt should be across the shoulder, right at the shoulder, not against your neck, not under your arm. And then shoulder belts should never be worn underneath the arm or behind your back. Kind of defeats the purpose of them. Since their implementation in the 1940s, seatbelts have become required by law since 1966 to be installed in all cars produced in the U.S. As I said earlier, many people believe airbags are sufficient to break their fall in the event of a car accident, but they are designed to work with seatbelts, and failure to follow guidelines can result in head and neck injuries due to hitting the steering column, the windshield, or even worse, ejection from the vehicle. Due to impact with the airbag, as stated in Safety Cells, Market Forces and Regulation in the Development of Airbags, a book written by the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. The purpose of seatbelts is closely related to the consequences of not wearing one. The person not wearing a seatbelt in the event of a collision or car accident may be subject to contact the steering wheel, windshield, and airbags, all of which are preventable with the use of seatbelts. According to studies by the CDC, 3 of every 4 people that are involved in an ejection from a car die of their injuries. Those that do survive are often suffer the loss of a job due to incapacitation, or are a burden on friends and family because they are unable to perform small duties, going to the bathroom or anything like that. One of my childhood friends was in a terrible farming accident a few years ago. He was exiting the pasture field after delivering some things out to his father, who was combining at the time. When he pulled out of the field onto the frontage road, pulled the service truck, pulled onto the road, and right behind him came a loaded grain truck. The loaded grain truck was unable to stop, and it hit his pickup. And his father watched in horror as his son was launched out this blue side cab window. Well, I got it highlighted in blue. He was launched out that and flew into the ditch. He went into a coma upon impact. Friends and family were waiting earnestly for 2 weeks to hear word back from the doctors whether he would make it or not. And he is still to this day struggling with speech and movement. He's slowed down, possibly suffered a stroke. He broke his arm and 3 ribs during that accident, and 6 months later he was finally released from the hospital to go home and continue therapy from that accident. All because of his unwillingness to take the couple seconds just to buckle up. He made just himself suffer, but everyone else around him at the time. There is no good excuse for not buckling up. The purpose of buckling up is evident, and the risks that taken not buckling up are never worth it. I chose to buckle up and be safe. Why just be another statistic? Buckle up, be safe.